So here's a question that's been bugging me, especially as a college student. ChatGPT Plus costs $20 a month. For the price of one semester at a state university, roughly $6,000, you could subscribe for 25 years. Khan Academy's AI tutor runs $44 a year. Stack up every major AI learning tool available today. ChatGPT, Conmigo, Claude, Duolingo Max, and you're paying about $47 a month. That's 2 years of access for the cost of a single 3-credit course. If universities were actually selling knowledge, this comparison would be devastating. They couldn't survive it. But here's the thing, they're not selling knowledge. They never were. And this is where most conversations about AI and education go wrong. People keep asking, will AI replace college? As if college is one thing. It's not. It's a bundle of 4 completely different products sold at one price. Product 1, knowledge transfer, lectures, readings, explanations. This part is now almost completely commoditized. A Harvard study from June 2025 found that students using an AI tutor learned significantly more in less time than students in active learning classrooms. GitHub Copilot, not to mention how much Claude Code does, which in my opinion is way better, makes programmers 55% faster in controlled experiments. The knowledge transfer piece, AI can do it, often better. Product 2, credentials and signaling. This is the actual moat. Economist Brian Kaplan estimates that 80% of education's economic return comes from signaling, not skill acquisition. What's signaling? It means you're demonstrating to employers that you're smart, conscientious, and willing to follow rules for 4 years. The diploma proves you can jump through hoops. And the data backs this up. There's something called the sheepskin effect. Someone with 3.5 years of college, but no degree earns dramatically less than someone who graduated. The education is nearly identical. The piece of paper is what matters. Over 60% of the wage premium comes from the diploma itself. Product 3, networks and social sorting. 4 years surrounded by ambitious peers. Access to recruiting pipelines, alumni connections, and fraternity networks. This creates social infrastructure that Zoom calls and Discord servers haven't matched, at least not yet. Product 4, and this one's underrated, the 4-year delay. For a lot of 18-year-olds, college provides structure, accountability, and time to grow up before entering the labor market. Here's a stat that surprised me. Completion rates for students who start college between ages 24 and 29 collapse to 8.4% within 5 years. Compare that to 67% for those who start at 18. Colleges aren't just teaching, they're providing scaffolding that older, more self-directed adults don't seem to need. So when someone asks, is college worth it in the age of AI? The real question is, which of these 4 products do you actually need? And can you get them cheaper somewhere else? Now here's where it gets interesting. This bundle isn't new, and it didn't emerge because universities were trying to educate people. The word universitas literally meant corporation or guild. The University of Bologna, founded in 1088, was run by students who hired professors and could fine them for teaching mistakes. These institutions weren't built to spread knowledge. They were built to protect their members, regulate prices, and gatekeep entry to lucrative professions. Law, medicine, clergy. The credential function predates the educational function by centuries. And this matters because we've seen technological disruption before. When Gutenberg's printing press flooded Europe with affordable books between 1450 and 1500, going from maybe tens of thousands of manuscripts to an estimated 15 to 20 million printed books, universities didn't collapse. They grew. The printing press democratized access to content, while universities kept their monopoly on certification, community, and career placement. 800 years later, MOOCs promised the same disruption. In 2012, Sebastian Thrun of Udacity predicted that within 50 years, only 10 institutions would provide all higher education globally. What actually happened? MOOC completion rates settled at 5 to 15%. San Jose State's partnership with Udacity produced worse outcomes than traditional classes. Coursera pivoted to corporate training before going public. The pattern keeps repeating. Technology disrupts knowledge access. Universities adapt by doubling down on everything else. But here's what's different now. The price tag has become genuinely absurd. Total cost of attendance, tuition, room, board fees now runs $108,000 to $124,000 at public universities for in-state students. Out-of-state, $182,000 to $204,000. Private nonprofits hit $234,000 to $262,000. Ivy League schools approach $360,000 over 4 years. Since 1963, college tuition has increased 229.8% in inflation-adjusted terms, more than tripling in real cost. So where does the money go? Only 27 to 38% of university expenditures actually fund instruction. Between 1987 and 2012, universities hired an average of 87 administrators and professional staff per working day, 517,636 total. Full-time faculty grew at 1/10 that rate. Yale now employs more than 5,460 administrators for fewer than 5,000 undergraduates. Meanwhile, nearly 70% of faculty are contingent workers, adjuncts earning an average of $3,556 per course. Many rely on food stamps, 25% below the poverty line. And the outcomes? Fewer than 45% of students graduate in 4 years, only 61% complete within 6. At more than 500 institutions, fewer than 25% graduate within 8 years. Students who drop out fare worst of all. 45% eventually default on their loans. Total U.S. student debt has reached $1.8 trillion, 43 million borrowers, average balance of $38,000. As of mid-2025, 5.3 million are in default, with 4.3 million more at risk. And return on investment, it varies wildly by major. Engineering, computer science, nursing, economics, you can expect $500,000 plus in lifetime earnings premiums. But education majors face a negative 55% lifetime ROI. Liberal arts graduates see negative 42%. 39% of MBA programs produce negative returns. The average is real, but averages hide enormous variance. Okay, so here's the uncomfortable question. If Kaplan is right that 80% of the return comes from signaling rather than skills, doesn't that actually mean college is worth it? Yes, for the individual, and that's exactly the trap. The signal works, employers trust degrees, even when they say they don't. You've probably seen the headlines. Google, Apple, IBM announced they'd dropped degree requirements. Skills-based hiring revolution, everyone said, but a February 2024 study from Harvard Business School and the Burning Glass Institute found the reality devastating. Fewer than 1 in 700 hires actually benefited from these changes. Only 3.6% of roles dropped requirements. Only 0.14% of actual hiring changed. 45% of companies that announced skills-based policies made no meaningful change. 18% made initial progress, then reverted. The announcements were largely PR, and this is the core problem with every alternative to traditional college. You can learn the skills elsewhere. You might even learn them better, but employers don't believe you. They don't trust the signal. The credential isn't about what you know. It's about proving something that employers can't directly observe. Intelligence, persistence, willingness to follow rules, ability to complete long-term projects. The diploma says this person showed up for 4 years and jumped through the hoops. There's a legal dimension here too. After the 1971 Supreme Court case Griggs versus Duke Power, employers couldn't use most aptitude tests for hiring. College degrees became a legal proxy for screening. Defensible in court, efficient for HR departments flooded with applications, requiring no additional assessment development. Degree inflation followed. Jobs that required high school diplomas in the 1970s now require bachelor's degrees. 6.2 million workers are potentially excluded from opportunities. So let's be honest about what AI tutoring delivers and what it doesn't. Khan Academy's Khanmigo grew from 40,000 users in the 2023 to 24 school year to 731,000 in 2024 to 25. 700% increase. A Stanford study from early 2024 found that students working with AI tutors were 4 percentage points more likely to master math topics. Gains reached 9 percentage points for students of lower-rated tutors. The Harvard physics study showed AI tutoring produced better learning outcomes than active learning classrooms. GitHub Copilot's productivity gains are well documented. 55.8% faster task completion, 26% improvement in test pass rates for certain programming tasks. I suppose this is for enterprise. I don't think anyone outside of enterprise is using GitHub Copilot. Let's bet honest. But where it gets more complicated, Anthropic, the company behind Claude, released their economic index report in January 2026, and they have actual usage data on how people are using AI for learning and work. If you watched my last video, I went more into detail on this report. Feel free to check it out. Educational tasks on Claude jumped from 9% of conversations in early 2025 to 15% by November. That's a 6 percentage point increase in less than a year. People are clearly using this for learning. But there's a catch. The report found something they call the how humans prompt is how Claude responds effect. The correlation between the sophistication of user inputs and AI outputs is over 92%. What does that mean in plain English? If you already know how to learn, if you can ask good questions and frame problems clearly, you learn faster with AI. If you can't, the gap might actually widen. And here's another finding that tempers the hype. Claude succeeds at about 70% of tasks requiring less than a high school education, but for college-level work, success rates drop to 66%. For really complex tasks, the kind that would take a human 5 or more hours, success rates fall to around 50% or below. AI tutoring is real. It works, but it's not magic, and it seems to amplify existing skills rather than replace the need to develop them. There's one more finding worth mentioning. Anthropic found that lower income countries use Claude more for coursework, while higher income countries use it more for work and personal tasks. That suggests AI education tools might democratize access in developing countries. But in wealthy countries where adoption is already high, people are using AI to be more productive at work, not to replace their degrees. And this brings us to something that matters for the whole will AI replace college debate. The Anthropic report found that if you remove the task AI can currently handle from jobs, the remaining human work actually requires less education on average. AI tends to take over the higher skill portions of jobs, the complex analysis, the research synthesis, the technical problem solving. What's left is often the routine stuff, the in-person interactions, the physical tasks AI can't do. So what does this mean for credentials? One interpretation is that degrees become less valuable because AI handles the hard cognitive work they were training you for. But another interpretation, and I think this one's more likely in the short term, is that the signal value of the degree actually increases. If AI can do the technical work, what employers are really paying for is judgment. Knowing when to trust the AI, knowing when to override it, knowing how to ask it the right questions. And that brings us back to that 92% correlation. The people who get the most out of AI are the people who already have the skills to use it well. The degree might be signaling exactly that. Now here's where I want to be careful, because there are alternatives that actually work, but they work for specific people in specific situations. Minerva University operates without a traditional campus. Students live together in rented residences across global cities while attending seminars via video platform. Acceptance rate below 4%, graduation rate approaching 90%, 88% of alumni report fantastic jobs or graduate school within 6 months. But it remains tiny, 637 undergraduates as of January 2025. Western Governors University offers competency-based education. You advance by demonstrating mastery, not completing seat time. Flat rate tuition of $8,300 per year. Enrollment has reached 192,613. 98% employer satisfaction. Graduates average $18,200. Income increases within 2 years. It works. But primarily for working adults, median age 33 to 37, who already know what they need. The Thiel Fellowship offers $200,000 to skip college and pursue entrepreneurial projects. 11 unicorn companies from 271 fellows, including Ethereum and Figma, but critics note it accepts fewer than 0.1% of applicants, 50 times more selective than Harvard, and fellows are overwhelmingly high achievers who would likely succeed regardless. And then there are the alternatives that crashed and burned. Lambda School, rebranded Bloom Tech, was permanently banned from consumer lending by the CFPB in April 2024. CEO barred from student lending for a decade. Internal documents showed 50% job placement versus the publicly claimed 86%. Income share agreements, the supposedly innovative financing model, turned out to be loans with 18% APR equivalent finance charges. The broader bootcamp industry faces AI disruption too. With coding assistants handling more entry-level tasks, demand for bootcamp graduates has weakened. And this connects to that Anthropic finding about de-skilling. If AI takes over the junior developer tasks that bootcamps were training people for, what's left? Now, here's an option that doesn't get enough serious discussion: the trades. Electricians earn $60,600 to $76,600. Plumbers $53,900 to $75,800. HVAC technicians $54,100 to $77,200. Union journeyman plumbers can reach $87,000. Trade school costs $5,000 to $33,000 total versus $100,000 plus for college. The shortage is severe. For every 5 baby boomers retiring from skilled trades, only 2 younger workers enter. So why don't more people do this? 74% of Gen Z perceive stigma in choosing vocational training. 68% say guidance counselors never discussed trade schools. There's a real mismatch between where the opportunities are and where the cultural prestige points toward. And here's something interesting: the tasks in trades are exactly the kind AI struggles with: physical, hands-on, requiring presence and judgment in unpredictable environments. The Anthropic data shows AI success rates decline sharply for anything requiring real-world interaction. An electrician's job isn't getting automated anytime soon. A junior analyst's job might be. Quick note on what other countries do, because it's instructive. Germany's dual education system, combining apprenticeships with vocational schooling, achieves 5.95% youth unemployment versus roughly 8 to 9% in the United States. About half of German school leavers historically entered the dual system. 2/3 of companies offer permanent employment after completion. But this system evolved over centuries from medieval guild traditions. It requires collaboration between government, employers, and unions that American institutions lack. You can't just copy-paste it. When university is free, as in Germany, Norway, and Finland, for domestic students, the calculus shifts. The question becomes not, can I afford this, but is this the best use of 4 years? If AI can teach skills faster, free tuition doesn't solve the opportunity cost problem. And remember that Anthropic finding about global usage patterns. Lower income countries use AI more for education. Higher income countries use it more for work. That suggests something about adoption curves. Early adopters in developing countries are technical users with specific high-value applications or students trying to learn. In rich countries, AI has already moved past the learning phase into productivity tools. The question isn't whether AI can teach, it's whether that teaching leads to the same outcomes as the 4-year credential. So let me lay out what I think are the realistic scenarios. Universities become research and credentialing institutions, abandoning teaching. MIT partners with Google. Stanford merges research programs with Apple. The teaching function migrates to AI tutors. Professors become researchers and coaches rather than lecturers. This is already happening in some ways. The Anthropic data shows augmentation, meaning collaborative human-AI work, is now more common than pure automation on their platform. That's consistent with a world where professors supervise and validate rather than lecture. Scenario 2, a two-tier system emerges. Elite schools survive. Mid-tier institutions collapse. Enrollment has already dropped 15% since 2010. More than one college per week announced closure in the first half of 2024. The demographic cliff, a 23% decline in births between 2007 and 2022, starts hitting in 2025. Elite schools with large endowments survive. Regional schools without differentiation face consolidation or closure. Scenario 3. AI tutoring plus short certifications replace most degrees for most jobs. Google Career Certificates 3 to 6 months at $39 a month report 70 to 75% positive career outcomes. AWS certifications correlate with 26% salary premiums. If employers actually adopted skills-based hiring beyond the PR announcements, this path could expand. But so far, they haven't. Scenario 4, employers build their own training pipelines. Google, Microsoft already run apprenticeship programs. If talent scarcity increases, more companies may find it cheaper to train than to compete for credentialed workers. Scenario 5, nothing fundamental changes. MOOCs didn't kill universities. Textbooks didn't kill universities. Radio didn't kill universities. The credential function, alumni networks, research funding, financial aid systems, and cultural expectations have proven remarkably durable. Maybe AI gets absorbed rather than proving disruptive. I lean toward some combination of scenarios 1 and 2. The Anthropic data actually supports this. Usage is concentrated among a small number of tasks, mostly coding. It's spreading, but slowly. And the correlation between user sophistication and AI effectiveness suggests the benefits will accrue to people who already have strong foundations. But I wouldn't bet heavily against scenario 5. So where does this leave us? Here's what I'd tell someone trying to make this decision. The panic over AI replacing education misses the point. Universities aren't primarily selling knowledge anymore. They're selling credentials, networks, sorting mechanisms, and a 4-year delay from adulthood. AI can replicate the first part almost completely. Whether the remaining 3 are worth $100,000 to $350,000 is the question every family now faces. If you're pursuing engineering, computer science, nursing, or economics at a state school with in-state tuition, strong returns, do it. If you're pursuing liberal arts at a private university with full debt financing, the economics are questionable. Think hard. If you're someone who knows what they want, can self-direct, and has a clear path through trades, apprenticeships, or entrepreneurship, that might be the better choice. But here's the thing the Anthropic data makes clear. AI amplifies existing skills. The correlation between how well you can prompt and how well AI responds is over 90%. If you're the kind of person who can teach yourself, who can frame problems clearly, who can evaluate AI output critically, you'll thrive with or without a degree. If you're not, the degree might be exactly what helps you develop those skills. The honest answer depends on the kid, the major, the institution, and the alternatives available. AI isn't making college worthless. It's revealing that knowledge transfer was never the expensive part. The expensive part was always the signal, the sort, and the stamp of approval. Whether those remain worth the price is a question every family must now answer individually, with dramatically more information than any previous generation has had. And I think that's actually the right framing. Not should anyone go to college, but which specific person should go to which specific college for which specific reason. The bundle is finally being unbundled. What you do with that depends entirely on which pieces you actually need.